Incarcerated youth. Youth incarceration is plaguing American society and is preparing the youth for jail rather than trying to elicit change. The lack of resources and qualified professionals are influencing the lack of change and reform to the policy. Foster care is positively correlated to the juvenile system. The lack of resources to both programs has resulted in children becoming criminals from a young age and continuing later as adults. As you can see, children in the foster care system are 2.5 times more likely to get involved in the justice system, and 90% of youth with 5+ foster care placements will enter the justice system. The education system present in the juvenile system in many states is subpar compared to the public school systems, and children as a result are not receiving the appropriate learning they need. The lack of resources in schools, segregation of schools, violence in neighborhoods, unstable households, and poverty are major influences in the juvenile system. Incarcerated youth face disproportionately higher morbidity and higher mortality compared to the general adolescent population. Dental health, reproductive health, and mental health needs are particularly high, likely as a result of access to care, engagement in high-risk behavior, and underlying health disparity. Young women are being primed for prostitution, being involved in domestic violence in the juvenile system. While there are reforms in the works, the overall system needs a major reset. Girls account for 29% of arrests, but 76 of these arrests are for prostitution, and 38 are in areas of domestic battery. It has been studied that as girls get older in the juvenile justice system, violence among them decrease. Based on this metric, with more funding and implementation of policies, violence could be decreased significantly more among young women than young men. Even though violence decreases as young women age in the juvenile system, assault and abuse increases. In some cases, abuse is 4 times more likely to occur to young women in the juvenile justice system. 45% of girls in the juvenile justice system had 5 or more adverse childhood experiences, and girls are 4.5 times more likely to experience sexual assault than boys. Incarcerated youth were predisposed to violence and assault at higher rates at an earlier age than their counterparts. They were also more likely to feel decisions against them were ruled unfairly. Minorities are often targets to enter the juvenile system. African American youth are more likely to be sentenced as adults, and this is reflected in the percentage of incarcerated African Americans compared to white Americans. African American youth are 9 times, and Latino youth are 4 times more likely than white youth to receive an adult prison sentence for the same crime. Studies conducted on minorities in the juvenile justice system illustrated that they were misdiagnosed or overly diagnosed as having externally as having externalizing disorders as compared to their white counterparts. Youth court system have been rated as being more unfair in its rulings when compared to adult court by former incarcerated youth. The view of authority figures has been tainted in minority communities. The view of law enforcement has soured. Mending this relationship could result in having a positive effect and on the community and on law enforcement. The school to prison pipeline has been a pressing issue in the United States for generations. Children are being targets, especially minorities, in schools to enter the juvenile system. As these students enter the juvenile system, they are then set on the way to enter the incarceration system as an adult. Some states have been forced to implement counseling programs due to the gross negligence they were doing to the youth. As a result, more inpatient and outpatient programs were formed within these states. For example, North Carolina was sued by the Department of Justice for overwhelming the foster care system and not having a proper pathway for youth to get out. More screenings can be done to assess the mental and emotional well being of children before placing them into different programs. Reform schools are a potential solution to the youth juvenile system. European countries have adopted this policy and are seeing results from the policy change. American culture could adopt some of the policies and programs that have been implemented in countries overseas, such as Finland, that have been seeing great results. And these are the references.